Hey, this is John Ondrasik from Five for Fighting, and you are listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Isn't it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on X at No Shock Pod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting, promoting the Music Matters Challenge.
And he's also got a couple singles out there, Let Music Fill My World and Okay.
Yeah, hey, let's get to that interview. Good night. John, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, Jeff Untied.
John, thanks for joining us.
Hey, nice to be with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're excited to have you. I know we had you scheduled on last year, but we had all kinds of things happen last year and we had to cancel things. So we're so glad to have you on tonight, finally. So let's get right into this. So you, along with Kaylee Tullman, co-created the Music Matters Challenge. Can you give our listeners an insight to this program?
Yeah, it's really about the critical nature of the need for music in all of our schools. When I was young, my mom came in and took over when music funding was cut in LA City Unified in elementary school. And she started putting on full musicals. And, 35 years later, those young kids now, in their 50s still talk about how important that was to them and how much they enjoyed that experience. And I had an opportunity with Kaylee Tullman to write a song with a Chicago inner city school that had lost their music teacher. It was called Let Music Fill My World. And through that effort, the Tullman family provided a music teacher for Farragut Academy for 3 years at a salary of $250,000, and which was awesome. And the kids wrote the whole lyric. We had 7 or 8 online sessions. We took them into the studio. We made a video, and that experience was so, I think, gratifying for us and the kids that we wanted to take it to the next level. So that's what the Music Matters Challenge is. It's a national contest where anybody, you guys, your friends, your family, can make a little video, and you tell a story about a music teacher or somebody who made your life through music, and you sing or you perform or you dance to our song "Let Music Fill My World." And at the end of the day, our winner will win $10,000 and sit with Kaylee and I and provide another music teacher for a school in need. And there's a school prize as well that schools can compete and win a $25,000 grant. But, guys, at the end of the day, it's just a way to raise awareness for the 4 million kids in America who do not have music teachers.
Very good.
Oh, man. Can you just talk a little bit more about that experience with working with the kids and, that emotional feel?
It was great to see. I think I probably learned more from them than they did from me. They were not like music prodigies, right? They were not, great singers. They were not, prolific piano players. They just like music, and they were nervous at first, and they were very shy, and it was just kind of a microcosm on why music is so important in our schools. Because over the 3 months, they came out of their shell. They started collaborating with each other. They became brave. They were not afraid to fail. They were excited to try something new, and they built relationships with their fellow students that would never have come about if not for music. And when they went into the studio, and again, of course, you're shy, but they come out of their shells, and all of a sudden they're on Good Morning America, So it was amazing to see, and they're so sweet, and they did a great job. The lyrics, wonderful, and I was so proud to see them come together and really hit it out of the park.
When it comes to songwriting and collaborating with high school kids, kind of talk a little bit about the challenges that were brought to you, Kaylee, and the rest of the high school kids of getting a song put together and letting the kids really have a big influence on the collaboration.
Yeah, of course, initially they're nervous, right? And so what you try to do is give them an opportunity to come out of their shell. The first thing we talked about was, all right, what artists do you like? What bands do you like? What do you listen to? And it was so surprising to me, like the different variety of music. You'd think it would be, Taylor Swift. It was Frank Sinatra. It was classical music. It was Queen. It was, Putting on the Ritz, from the 50s. So that was fascinating to see. And then we just started talking, and I said, let's talk about why music matters to you. And one of the girls said, me and my mom have a tough relationship, but we can kind of communicate through music and sit down and listen to music together, and maybe that sparks a conversation. And so through that, I just kind of listened, and I showed them that by the end of our session, I'd pulled out 7 or 8 things they said that ended up being in the lyric. So I'm like, you're writing the lyrics right now, and that kind of got them excited. And it was great to see them coming out of their shell, and some of them were dancing in the room by the end of it, and they were all so different. They're all so different, and I'm glad we have all their voices in it, because I think it really expresses kind of what we're talking about, why music is so important to these, especially at a young age, right? At younger ages where you're developing, and look, we all can't be great athletes, right? So there's 2 things that kind of keep kids out of trouble in school: sports and the arts. So I think we need to make sure we have both.
Exactly.
Nice. Well, besides putting in or submitting a video, is there a way for people, maybe the listeners, to donate money if they wanted to make a donation?
Yeah, it's not about raising money, and that's the nice thing about it. You don't have to spend any money. All you do is, everybody loves to make a video for Instagram, right? Yeah. Everybody likes to be seen. Everybody has a story, and it's really simple. And the other thing I want to tell your listeners is, don't feel you have to be like a great singer or a great musician. It's not about that at all. Frankly, it's more compelling if you're not a great singer and you're willing to tell your story and share your expression however you do that. So I don't want people to feel intimidated. It'll probably be somebody like that wins this whole thing, just because it's so honest. And all the information's at letmusicfillmyworld.com. It's really simple to do. It takes you, 2 or 3 minutes. And as I said, you can win $10,000. So that's no small change.
Yeah, very good.
Awesome.
We speak to artists every week, and some are prolific songwriters, others are prolific musicians. When you go into an endeavor like this with high school kids, can you tell, like, yes, this individual is going to be a great songwriter, or yes, this individual is going to be a fantastic musician? Can you already kind of see them molding in one direction or another?
You never know. Sometimes it takes a while. One of the girls was, very kind of shy and nervous, but by the end, she was a poet, but it took a minute to bring that out of her. I think a lot of kids don't know what they have inside them.
Yeah.
And if they're not exposed, to music or the arts in some way, they may never find out. So certainly, there's certain kids that they have an ability to sing, right? So you knew who the singers were very quickly. But for the other stuff, for writers, songwriting is a craft. I wrote thousands of songs before I wrote a song that I think was worthy of playing for anybody. It's there's very few prodigy songwriters that just wake up and can write 30 Beatles songs and have everybody know their songs for 100 years. So it's really a learning experience. I didn't have a hit song till I was in my late 20s. So these kids are 16, 17, 18 years old. So I think for them, just to expose them to it and get them writing is important. And they did it. And it's as I said, if people watch the video or listen to the song, I think they're pretty impressed that these kids who had never had any experience could write such a beautiful song.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Well, let's take it back to 2023 and the single "Okay." Can you talk a little bit about the making of that song?
Yeah. So over the last 2 or 3 years, I've written a few songs that were much different than any songs I've written in my career. Probably. Most importantly, I took no joy in writing them. I wish I didn't have to. The first was a song called "Blood on My Hands" that was about the Afghan withdrawal that became very significant to many of our Afghan vets who felt kind of gutted by the fact we abandoned their allies. And then I wrote a song called "Can One Man Save the World?" that was about Ukraine, the fortitude. The Ukrainian people actually went to Ukraine and performed with the Ukrainian orchestra and kind of a bombed out airport, which was an experience you can only imagine. And then, "Okay," again, it kind of came out of, a tragedy, the Hamas atrocities of October 7th and kind of the cultural aftermath that we saw, the collapse of many of our institutions, particularly, our college campuses, which,
we're still
6 months later, we still see on the news every day. And so that song, and we made a video to that kind of documenting kind of the fact that we're not okay. Something's kind of broken in the culture. It was inspired by Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, who very early after October 7th gave a speech and said, look, something's really wrong. We're not all right when 24 hours after, the rapes of hundreds of women, the massacre of 1,200 people, the beheading of babies, there's thousands of people in Times Square celebrating this. Exactly. So I think, that's kind of what kind of triggered me and seeing kind of, the UN and many in the media kind of pick up the Hamas propaganda. That's what inspired the song. And then, of course, when Israel shared the song on their social media, then everything, kind of went to another level. But that's really where it came out of. And I think that's probably why it's resonating.
With the Israel-Hamas conflict having such a negative impact here in the States, did you have any reservations about writing on such a touchy subject right now in the now?
People, when I put out the Afghanistan song, everybody was kind of saying, you can't put that out. You can't put that out. You'll get canceled. People won't buy a ticket. Everybody, except for my wife and my kids and one or two people, said, you can't put that out. But after putting that out and seeing how it really mattered to our Afghan vets, I'm like, whatever backlash I get is so trivial to what's going on, and after "Okay" came out and getting thousands of emails from people in Israel and Jewish people around the world. I'm not Jewish, so I think that also had a different tone. I'm not Jewish. I'm just human. I think if people commit evil acts, you should call them evil without context. And so seeing those people who feel abandoned have some sense of solace that look, you may not like Israel for some reason or whatever, fine, but if you can't condemn the atrocities, we're going to talk about this, but I was in Israel 2 weeks ago and I met with many of the hostage families. And, I wish everybody could sit down with the hostage families, because that experience, there are no words for that agony that what those people are going through. And if you can't see the evil that those people have to live with every second of every day, then something's really wrong. We're not okay. So I think, is there some backlash? Yeah. Do I understand what Jewish people experience a little bit, with the threats and the vitriol? Yeah. Are some people in the music industry mad at me because I'm calling them out? Yeah. But you know what? If the shoe fits, there you go.
Very good.
Yeah. Well, you've worked with string quartets and stuff with I think one of your live albums. Can you talk about there was a cello solo or a cello accompaniment in that song? Can you talk a little bit about the either the arrangement or getting somebody to play that?
Really good question. I'm glad you brought that up. With the other two songs, I wrote them pretty quickly. The Ukraine song and the Afghanistan song. This song, I took more time. I wanted to make sure I got the tone right. I knew that was so critical. So I listened to some kind of classical funeral marches. I listened to some Jewish music. And I had the bed. I had the piano vocal. And it was working, but what it didn't have was the human pain.
Yeah.
And, obviously in kind of Jewish music, look at Fiddler on the Roof, there's a string instrument. Usually it's a solo instrument. Maybe it's a violin, a viola. And I had a buddy, Dave Egger, who's just a world-class cello player. He happened to be in town. And it was an interesting session because everything he plays is so beautiful. So, he came over and he was playing to it. And we're like, oh, yeah, it sounds so beautiful, so beautiful. And my wife came in and she's like, this is not a beautiful song. This is a song that is tragic. It's painful. It's horrible. And so I actually pulled up a few pictures from the Nova concert where, the horrible pictures of the women that were raped and murdered. And I said, I know, man, I really don't, want to show this to you, but let me just show this to you and see what comes out. And basically what came out was that performance, that kind of single note at the top of the chorus, kind of like a drill into your head. And that performance, I think, makes the song work because you feel the pain, you feel the agony, you feel the human suffering through that cello. And it's a great example of music and how an instrument can really take a whole song to another level.
Awesome.
Very good. Well, you had Michael Ramirez, Pulitzer Prize winning cartoonist, design the single cover for OK. Can you talk about how did you get him commissioned to do the cover, the artwork?
Michael's a friend. I've known him for a while. He's a fantastic artist, such a smart guy, has a different worldview than typical artists these days. So we kind of share that misfit toy. We don't really fit in our industry with our worldview. And he's, he's supported some of my other songs. And when I had this tune, we were talking about it and I played him an early demo and I kind of just said, hey, no pressure, but would you be open to drawing the cover? And he was very happy to do it, and I was so honored, and I think he did an amazing job. He was actually at my concert last Friday in Orange County, and we were chatting about it. But yeah, to have him do the cover, I think it's very fitting. I'm honored to do it, and he's such a great person, such a great artist. I'll always be grateful to him for that.
Oh, very good.
Well, from an artist perspective, we don't have necessarily the albums or the CDs or we still have LPs coming out, but can you talk a little bit about that lost album art and the new digital age from an artist's perspective of still having some type of visual that draws your attention into, hey, you want to listen to the song?
I'm going to give away my age here. I'm the curmudgeon-y. You get to a point in your career where you're the curmudgeon and everything sucks, and it was only good in the good old days. But I admit, I miss the album covers. I miss the artwork. I miss the 13 songs. I'm the kind of guy when I bought a Billy Joel record, I'd be all about New York State of Mind, not just the way you are. I love the album cuts because as a songwriter, when you're making a record, I still call them records. But, basically I looked at it as, okay, I need to give the label 2 songs so I can make another record. Give them 2 songs that can go on the radio, that can hopefully connect, be popular, make them some money, so I can make another one. And then the other 11 songs, I feel they're mine. That's kind of where I can really, I can take 2 minutes to get to the chorus. It could be something that could never go on the radio. It's kind of where you really can indulge yourself. And I feel that we've kind of lost that. Everybody's releasing singles and here's my shot. And at the same time, the beauty of the internet and the digital age is it's leveled the playing field, right? Mm-hmm. Back in the day, you'd go into the studio, it's $2,500, $3,000 a day, and that adds up very quickly. Now you can make wonderful sounding music on your laptop. You can make videos, take a zero off the cost. And also, you don't need a record company to have a chance at having a career. You can put your videos up on YouTube. People can see them. You can build your audience. So I think in that respect, it's great. I just think music has become a little more generic. And I ask myself, what songs are we hearing today that we're going to hear 20 years from now? Because to me, that's really what songwriting's about. It's like, just what songs stand the test of time? There's a reason everywhere you go, you still hear the music of the 70s. You still hear classic rock. You still hear Led Zeppelin. You hear the Beatles. You hear AC/DC. You hear Queen. There's a reason those songs stand the test of time. And I just ask myself now, with kind of how music is made, and we're so kind of disposable and everything's short term. There's no tour support in the music business. There's, Bruce Springsteen took 3 records to break. Yeah. That doesn't happen anymore.
No.
So are those iconic artists kind of being lost in the shuffle? But again, that's kind of get off my lawn, old man talk.
Well, you brought up an interesting subject here. Is that last month we had Don McLean on the podcast.
Oh yeah.
And the question I asked him was like, what does it feel like at your age that you've created a song, American Pie, that will be listened to till the end of days, until men are gone from this planet? And that what you said is like the music that is being released now, there's nothing like that right now that is being in the now that is going to be listened to at the end of days, like American Pie or Stairway to Heaven or any of the classic cuts. And for you, where you're at in your career, do you find with that being said, is this good for the music industry?
No, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's funny you mentioned Don, because talking about having iconic songs, people write songs about your songs. And I did. I wrote a song called Slice with Stephen Schwartz, the iconic Broadway writer, called Slice. And it was about, we're only just a slice of American pie. Oh. And it basically kind of lifted some of kind of his themes. And I actually reached out to him and said, hey, dude, just wanted to let you know, this is a song kind of based on your song, and big fan. And he was very gracious. He loved it. And for me, it's like, if you don't have those songs that stand the test of time, I don't think you have much of a business, because your business is so short term. What makes publishers money, it's called catalog.
Exactly.
And those catalog songs are the ones that keep everybody in business and actually fund the new artist. And for me, I'm very grateful and humbled that I have, a couple songs that people come to my concert and sing, and they were not born when I wrote them. Yeah. And you still hear them on the radio, and that people still come to my shows. So I think it's really, important that we have singer-songwriters playing their own instruments, writing their own songs, talking about the world. I made fun of Taylor Swift a little bit, but God love her, God love her, because she's writing her own songs. She's a great role model. Some of her songs I think you will hear, 10, 15 years from now. Adele, there's some folks, Ray LaMontagne, go down the list. But I do worry that we become so short-term, so single-based, and the whole culture is instantaneous that we may be losing, a decade or two of music that really matters.
Well said.
Yeah. Well, and also, the shift in music now is it seems like R&B and country are probably top of the charts. But, can you talk a little bit about your style and the contemporary and the piano and trying to keep that relevant?
Yeah, I think like anything, things come in waves. When Superman came out, the piano was not on the radio. It wasn't 1977. It was 1999, 2000, Lilith Fair, boy bands, grunge. Yeah. So, Superman kind of, I think, helped lead the piano back to the radio. And all of a sudden you started hearing, singer-songwriter piano players. And so I think things come and go. Again, I think it's not so much the genre. It's just like, who are the iconic songwriters? Who's the Stevie Wonder? Who's the Joni Mitchell? Who is that artist that songs speak for a generation? And certainly there's some, and again, I'm not the perfect person to ask about new music because I only kind of hear it through my kids, and so I'm sure there's some amazing artists making great music, but I do think kind of seeing how radio's become, so kind of, owned by 3 companies instead of having independent radio stations, that hurts music. And I think, music used to be used, every TV show used to have a music theme, right? Yeah. Now none of them do. But as I said, there's also ways that music has never been more accessible. I hear a song in a restaurant, I Shazam it, and it's on my playlist. Yeah. So, so there's that side of it too.
Well, you had brought up technology in recording. The days of going into a proper recording studio is not as prevalent as it was. Like that was the norm. Now we see we even see established heritage acts recording music from their home studio. But in the gamut of it all, do you have a preference on when you're recording music? Do you prefer getting into a proper studio and knocking it out with a producer and other musicians? Or do you like this new age of accessibility of recording your music at home and you don't have people looking over your shoulder?
Well, I'm biased because I'm sitting in my studio at home with a piano and a microphone right in front of me. Yeah. and as soon as we're done, I'm going to fix a vocal and then go watch the hockey game. But I do think there's something magical about the studio process, especially when you're a band and you have a group of people, that magic happens. And these days, you cut a basic track, you send it to your bass player who lives in, Atlanta, and he cuts his track, and then you send it to your drummer who lives in, Tennessee. And it sounds good and everybody's talented, but you miss the magic that happens in the room. And what also was so amazing and wonderful about studios, back in the day is you're in there for 2 or 3 months making a record, and who's next door, right? You hear all these stories about, the Stones and the Beach Boys making records, next to each other, and somebody wanders in and, oh, that's a good idea. And, so that kind of synergy with other musicians is so wonderful and so special. And there's still a few people that do that. There's a studio out here, Michael Blue, a friend of mine who did Colby Calais' record. He has 7 or 8 rooms, and people are doing rap in one room, and they're doing country in another room, and they're doing pop in another room, and they all kind of, find out what each other's doing. So I think that dynamic is something I miss. But the convenience of, recording at home and kind of being able to, when you work till 3 a.m. and then take a shower and go to bed, that doesn't suck.
Very good.
Well, tell us a little bit about the John Ondrasik songs in the vault. Do you have? It's been a little bit since a full length album. I think your last one, Bookmarks, was 2013, and then you had a couple live albums. You got any plans for another album?
Probably more now than ever, because I really have kind of been sparked by these new songs and having songs that don't have one spin on the radio but are kind of globally impacting is kind of given me a little boost of, okay, there's a reason to do this. And I'd like to write, some songs that are not so heavy So yeah, I've had a few things in television and one-offs that I write, for a scene or for a TV show, and I have a couple movie projects that are kind of been floating around that I may work on. And also, my daughter is this amazing little songwriter. We've been working on her music, so I've been enjoying collaborating with her, and she was singing with me last week on my tour, and
Nice.
She brought the house down, so maybe passing the baton a little bit as well. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next year or two that I put out a record with 10, 11 songs, and maybe these three are part of that.
Oh, very good. All right, well, we got one last question for you, and we'll leave you alone for the evening. I wanted to bring this back to the Music Matters Challenge, and we talked a little bit about the Tullman Family Office funding a full-time music teacher at Chicago Farragut Academy. So is this a relationship, a business relationship that it's going to carry on between you and the Tullman Family Office, or how is this all going to work out? Is this a one-off thing for funding, or I guess just kind of talk to us a little bit more about the funding for this years from now, I guess.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I've known Glenn Tullman, who's Kaylee's dad, for decades. We met at a YPO event where I was performing Young Presidents Organization, and he's such an amazing philanthropist. He's an incredible businessman, and in the healthcare online industry, it's many companies, and made 10 generations of wealth, and his willingness to give back, and especially in Chicago, their Chicago family, and Kaylee is cut from the same cloth. She served our government in Iraq. I'm a huge supporter of our military, our troops, so I have that passion for her service, and she certainly shares that for our troops. And they were helpful for me in supporting my Afghan song, my Ukraine song, and when this kind of project came together, Kaylee's so passionate about music and helping the underserved that we're like, okay, this is not a one and done. Let music fill my world. We're not going to stop till we have a music teacher in every school. So the Music Matters Challenge is our kind of first kickoff, and hope everybody submits a video and gets us going. But no, we have big plans, and there's nobody else I'd rather work with. They're just wonderful people, wonderful humans, and they give you hope. It's a kind of a dark world these days, but you see people doing these great things, and it makes you smile, and we all could use another reason to smile these days.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
We're out of our allotted time for the evening. Is there anything that we left off that you'd like to plug or promote?
No, I just I just like to tell folks that I'm at Five for Fighting Music on Instagram. All the tour dates, fiveforfighting.com. We're putting the rock band out this summer. I'll be in Atlanta and Florida at the end of May, and we'll do another quartet tour in September. So John Ondrasik on Twitter. If you can spell it, you're a genius. But that's Five for Fighting on Facebook. But yeah, we're trying to do some good things for the world, and we appreciate people kind of supporting our efforts.
Oh, very good. Well, this is how things are going to work out. Once Jeff, the editing wizard, gets over and cleans up all of my boogers for sure, we'll make this sound like $1 million, and we'll send it to your PR person. I'll send it to you too. And we want to thank you for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'll make sure I blast it out, and let's do it again one day.
John, it was an honor. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right, man. We'll be in touch in 2 weeks. Take care. Bye-bye.
You got it. Thank you. Bye.
true, but you just can't do it here. Hey. Everybody eyes the gun and screams inside their head. Everybody bites their tongue and pays their bills instead. Hide in the spotlights, fight the grip of death. You can have the air you need, but you best not take one breath. Hey. Roll the dice. Take your chances. Everybody knows the game is fixed, there is no prize. Everybody pulls the plug and says their last goodbyes. Move to the sunshine, fight the grip of nights. If they ever take from you, then you plug out both their eyes. Hey. Roll the dice. Take your chances.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day. all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.